Welcome to FederalERPro. Today, we're tackling a critical skill, CYA the right way, part of our The More You Know playlist. We'll discuss how and why memorializing your work process is vital, especially when things don't go as planned. This includes not just guidance given to customers, but also when ER leadership insinuates themselves into your casework.
Let's talk about a scenario I'm sure many of you have faced. You advised against removal. Your warning was ignored by the proposing official. Or perhaps, your ER supervisor insisted on a different, maybe less appropriate approach. Now, the case strategy is getting scrutinized. Sound familiar? Did you document what you actually advised? Or what you were directed to advise? And when? Can your records clearly reconstruct that critical timeline? These are the situations we need to prepare for. Now, why is getting this documentation right so incredibly important? Well, our fundamental role in ER is to provide that expert consultative advice. We're there to help management make decisions that are legally sound, fair to everyone involved, and ultimately efficient for the agency. But, as we know, our advice isn't always taken by line management. And sometimes, as we just discussed, our own ER leadership might steer us toward an approach that wasn't our first instinct. Here's the critical part. If a case goes south and fails, you can bet there's going to be intense scrutiny. People will want to know about ER's input, and they'll want to understand where the final guidance actually came from. The key concern we always have to keep in mind is that our internal communications, our advice, they are all potentially discoverable. So let me be clear. Our goal with careful documentation is not to hide information. It's the opposite. It's to make sure that if something is discovered, that record accurately reflects ER's true role, the real basis of the final advice given, and that it doesn't accidentally undermine a legitimate agency action. And just as importantly, it's to ensure you aren't unfairly implicated for directives you were given by your own leadership. At the end of the day, this all boils down to our professional responsibility, our commitment to ethical practice, and the absolute necessity of meticulous record-keeping. All right, let's get into the practical tools. First up is the confirming email. This is when you're dealing with customers. What's its purpose? It's your way to professionally document the advice you've given. It creates clarity and, crucially, a contemporaneous record, meaning it's created at the time of the events. This is especially useful when you have a hunch that the customer might just go in a different direction than what you recommended. Now, as you see on the slide, the email needs to hit some key elements. You'll want to note when the discussion happened and who was there. Then, summarize your core advice. What was the main point you were making, and what was your primary reasoning behind it? Did you offer any alternative paths or solutions? If so, mention those. It's also good to acknowledge the customer's intended course of action, if you know it. And always end by offering your continued ER support to the agency. The tone here is vital. Keep it factual, neutral, and avoid injecting your personal opinions or frustrations. For the full email template example, with suggested wording you can adapt, please take a look at the video description below. We've laid it all out for you there.
Tool number 2 is similar, but it's for a potentially more delicate situation, the confirming direction email. This is specifically for when your own ER leadership gives you a specific directive on case strategy, a particular interpretation, or advice that significantly differs from what you initially assessed. Its purpose is to professionally document the direction you received. Like the previous email, you'll want to include the details of the discussion. Then, very clearly and neutrally, state the specific direction you were given by your ER leader. It's important to also note how this direction has now been incorporated into your work or the advice you're formulating. A key part of this email is to politely ask your leader to confirm that your understanding of their direction is accurate. And, of course, you'll state your compliance and continued support. The focus, as you see on the slide, is all about ensuring mutual understanding and creating a clear record of the guidance that ultimately shaped your ER product. It's absolutely non-confrontational. It's about clarity. And just like before, we've summarized the key elements on the slide. But for that crucial full email template example, please refer to the video description below. Given the sensitivity here, having well-crafted wording is essential. Now for number 3, your professional working notes. We're talking about notes that aid your ER analysis, help you formulate advice, and also document any internal ER direction. They're part of that internal deliberative process where you're thinking things through. Now, there's a legal concept here called the deliberative process privilege. It's designed to protect that internal give and take within an agency, allowing for candid advice so better decisions can be made. So, when you're documenting advice for line management, your working notes might detail your initial analysis, the different options you considered, and how you formulated your advice before you actually communicate it. If a directive from your own leadership significantly changes your professional assessment or the advice you were initially planning to give, your notes can factually and neutrally record that. What was the specific directive you received from your ER leadership? And how was your final advice or work product adjusted to align with that directive? Remember, this is your internal professional record. It's there to ensure an accurate historical account if there's ever a need for future review. Make sure to label these notes very clearly. Now, why is careful handling so important? And let me stress, this is not about being shady. It's about maintaining the integrity of that deliberative process and protecting any potential privilege. And it clearly distinguishes your private working or draft thoughts from the official case file, which contains the agency's final records and evidence. So, where do you keep them? Your personal electronic files are good, or perhaps a designated ER internal drive that has controlled access, or you should follow your agency's counsel or records management policy for these kinds of pre-decisional materials. The absolute key here is controlled access and a clear separation from that official evidentiary case file. That's why we advise against putting these on widely accessible shared drives.
Sometimes, despite your best advice, line leadership might insist on a path that you, in your professional judgment, see as carrying significant legal risk, or one that's clearly contrary to established precedent or law. This is where elevation comes in. What do? The first step is to discreetly escalate that concern. This would typically be to your ER branch chief, perhaps your division head, or even directly to agency counsel OGC or OLC, always consistent with your agency's reporting structure. Now, it's crucial to document this elevation step, but do it privately and professionally. This might be a brief, factual note for your working file, or perhaps a confirming email to your ER supervisor simply stating that you had a consultation about the matter. Ultimately, the goal is to allow leadership to own that final decision, but with full awareness of the risks you've professionally outlined.
Thank you so much for joining this FederalERPro video. We truly hope you found it valuable and that you can take these tools and apply them in your important work. Please do subscribe for more training videos on ER casework. And if you have specific requests for future topics you'd like us to cover, please let us know in the comments. Remember to check the description for templates. We are sharing the love of the craft of casework, not legal advice. Please like and share. Thanks again.